Yo, what's up? I just finished a stream, so excuse me if my brain is a little absolutely barbecued shrimp on the Barbie style extra sauce, but there's something that happened over the weekend that I absolutely needed to talk about because I don't know the right answer. A court at some point is going to have to decide the right answer to this question, but it's weird because as I know, I don't know the right answer. I also don't know who I want to be right. You get to be you get to be a part of the decision-making process here. I usually read a lot of the comments on this anyways. I do want to address something before we go any further. I've made other videos in this shirt, and somebody said I couldn't, I would never listen to a 30-year-old man wearing a Minecraft shirt. True. But the fun fact here is this shirt was actually a gift, and I have actually never played Minecraft in my life. So if that makes you respect me more, I don't know why it would. It's also an Adidas Minecraft shirt, so I feel like that's kind of cool. I don't know. I don't know why that comment bothered me so much. Anyways, this handsome hunk of man meat right here is Jerome Tang. Jerome Tang is the coach of the Kansas State men's basketball team. This is top-level college sports in the United States for those from far and wide. But that's not really relevant. You don't need to understand the sport or anything to know what's happening here because Jerome Tang and his team suck. They've had a terrible year, really bad. In league play, they have 1 win and 11 losses. They're 1-11. This is a team that a couple of years ago was competing, in the March Madness. They were in the Final 8. They were in the Elite 8. All right, the Final 4, Elite 8. I told you, I just streamed. I'm having a stroke. I'm actively having a stroke for 2 hours after I stream. But they get embarrassed on their home floor. They lose by $1 billion, whatever it was. And Jerome Tang sits down at the press conference and pops off. And the really divisive part of this is that based off what was said in this press conference, Kansas State is attempting to fire him for cause, which if you don't know what that means legally, basically in every contract that a coach or a manager anywhere in the world is going to sign is going to have a clause in it that says, hey, if you do something horrible, we can fire you. Basically, if you do, let me see if I can find out where this is worded. Right, Pete Thamel, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, is a reporter. He said pre-ESPN sources Kansas State's firing Jerome Tang for cause. The reason is it references a clause in the contract that's, it references any activity that brings public disrepute, embarrassment, or ridicule to Kansas State. Right, but the question is, where is that line? I've just never seen this before because if you fire somebody without cause, you don't pay it out. You don't pay out whatever the compensation is. And Jerome Tang, because he'd had a lot of success a couple years ago, we're talking about $19 million here. A $19 million buyout if they fire him without cause, right? They just fire him because the team sucks, which was probably coming down the pipe anyways. But they might, maybe they're seeing an opportunity here, like we're going to fire him for cause and save $19 million. And it's all based off this interview. Whatever he says sitting here in this moment is what is going to result in him potentially losing $19 million instead of getting fired without cause, getting fired for cause. Again, I have absolutely no idea whether who I want to be right in this situation. It's just wild. I'll be cutting in over the course of this press conference.
Hey, I'm gonna honor Christ like I always do. Blessed to do this, but this was embarrassing. These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform.
Hot start. Very hot start. Jerome.
There will be very few of them in it next year.
Bro, look, this is a broken man. You ever see somebody in sports? Like there's certain just vivid memories and images that you can, like when somebody knows that it's over. The weird thing about this though is that the words he's saying aren't that it's over, but he's like totally defeated by what's happening. There is zero optimism. There is zero plan. The plan he's talking about is next year. Bro, you're 1-11 in the league. What are you talking about next year for? Right? Because if you go lose the rest of the games you're playing for the rest of the season, your ass isn't going to be there next year. Yeah, it's just not. It's like his brain broke to such an extent that he wasn't even able to consider the fact that the future might not actually be there. He's just like, I don't know. It's just one of those interviews, one of those post-game, post-match interviews where you can tell the player or the coach knows it's fucked up beyond repair. Like, they know that they're not going to be able to fix it. And it's wild because it's just a whole business of the business and experience of sports is about like, we'll be able to get them next time. Rah, rah, pick it up. We're going to do it again. He's like, no, these guys don't deserve to wear the uniform. Very few of them will be wearing it next year. We're going to clean house and get a new team. Like, we're only 23 seconds in.
I'm embarrassed for the university. I'm embarrassed for our fans, our student section. You know, it is just ridiculous. We got practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we will get this thing right. I have no answer and no words. So y'all got two questions. So whoever want to ask two questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability right now. But right now, like I'm like pissed, and this is all right.
I mean, he's like genuinely at a breaking point, at a loss for words. Clearly, this is where the press conference, the crowd meters going off at the press conference. Like, this is the moment that you least want to be doing a press conference. So this first question, you're not really going to be able to hear it, is about how they're way worse at home than they are on the road. I'm going to cut out part of the answer, but the relevant part is this.
Man, these dudes got to have some... They got some pride, man. They got some pride. It means something to wear a K-State uniform. It means something to put on this purple, man. Everything this university is about and all that it's been about, why I love this place, man. Like, they don't love this place, so they don't deserve to be here.
Just what did you make of the student section with paper bags on their heads?
And this question is about some of the kids in the student section were wearing bags over their heads because the team is so bad?
Yeah, I'd wear a paper bag, too, if I was them. Thanks a lot, fellas. God bless.
Obviously, those questions are not like super entertaining for him to get, but that's it. That's the whole press conference. And I'm going to be very transparent here. I never really liked Jerome Tang. I'm a basketball sicko to every level to the same degree that I am a football, soccer sicko. I live and breathe basketball, college basketball in particular. I watch the NBA and the playoffs because I don't like watching basketball where people aren't trying. And so you have to wait for the playoffs in the NBA, but college basketball delivers that all the time. I don't really like Jerome Tang. I don't really like the way his teams play. I just never got a good vibe from him before this. And, it just wasn't a team that I was like happy to see doing well necessarily. Just a totally personal thing. It's really hard to even figure out how that shit forms, when you're just watching a sport. But this is not that bad. Especially, like, what are you supposed to give as a press conference? You lose by 30 at home. Fans are wearing bags over their heads, and you're 1-11 in the league. I'm almost more happy to have a press conference like this where you can tell the coach at least cares than a coach who's getting paid millions of dollars sitting there and going, hey, I'm good. We're going to be fine. We're like, you would have loved a more composed. This isn't the best possible press conference, but it's not the worst. Right? The worst would be naming specific players, throwing them under the bus, lashing out at the reporters, which you see in sports all the time. He doesn't lash out at the reporters. He says he's going to take two questions. He takes two questions. He is clearly very emotional, clearly very upset. That voice crack is going to come back to haunt me, so I'm just going to acknowledge that it happened. Sorry. It's getting ahead of the person that was going to tag that with a time code and go, is that a voice crack? Yes, it is. My normally ethereal, angelic baritone has been penetrated by reality. Yeah, but this isn't like crazy bad. And clearly they wanted to fire him anyways, and they've just decided that they were going to try to fire him for cause, potentially costing him $19 million. If it does hold up in court, I think you're going to see a lot more coaches get fired for cause. I'm just saying. Because the buyouts on these coaches in any sport, really, not just college basketball or college football, whatever, they're huge. That'd be like the most expensive rant of all time. Jerome Tang did release a statement, said, I'm deeply disappointed with the university's decision and strongly disagree with the characterization of my termination. I have always acted with integrity and faithfully fulfilled my responsibilities as a coach. I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for the opportunity to serve as the head coach of Kansas State. It's been one of the great honors of my life. I'm grateful to the players, staff, and fans who make this program special. I remain proud of what we built together and confident that I've always acted in the best interests of the university and our student athletes. Yeah, I mean, that's like, I guess, the response that I would have expected. He clearly loved Kansas State. And, you know, he's going to, I would assume he's going to try and fight this in court. Because there's a lot of things that are maybe, you know, a lot of little amounts of money. Maybe it's not worth going to court over. $19 million, that's worth going to court over. I'd go to court for $19 million, and I'm really not interested in doing that sort of thing. That is an amount of money that you've got to send it after. There's been a lot of talking heads that have talked, you know, like originally when Jerome Tang made these statements, everybody kind of clowned on him. Like, wow, he really trashed these kids. Like, didn't he bring them all in? I mean, it's not like he's a new coach there. He recruited all these guys. He brought them all into the school. But now that he's been fired for cause, I think everybody's swung back to Jerome's side a little bit. But I'm over here like, it wasn't great. Obviously, you know, the real part that I think you could say people were taking issue with was him throwing the kids under the bus, saying they didn't deserve, you know, he did throw the kids under the bus. He did. Not in an over-the-top way, but he absolutely did. And as a result of him throwing the kids under the bus, he got clowned by the national media for a day. And so I can see the argument the university would make legally to be like, he brought the university into disrepute because he was doing because there was such national attention on him throwing the athletes under the bus. But that's why we do the press conferences. So we know what the players and coaches think. And sometimes the columnists, the opinion people, are going to disagree with what the coaches think. So you know what? After this video, I think Jerome Tang should get his $19 million. Because you know what? Kansas State, for some reason, decided to give this guy a contract where the compensation for firing him was $19 million. And I don't see anything in this press conference that warrants dumping all of that $19 million. Maybe put a clause in there that says, hey, if he's really mean to the players, we don't have to pay him 19, we have to pay him 10. They'll put that clause in the next contract, but they forgot to put it in this one.